An A1c in the 7s is not good news. If it reaches the 8s or the 9s, you really need to take action in a hurry. And if it ever gets into the double digits, you've got diabetes of the worst sort. But on today's program, I'll be interviewing a young man who had an A1c of 17. I didn't even know that was possible. Most people could hardly stand on their feet with blood sugar that high. But this man was working 2 jobs and going to the gym during this time. But he was also losing his sight and peeing every 10 to 15 minutes. When he found out he was a severe diabetic, he took action. And today, his A1c is in the 5's. Well, we have yet another interview for you, and in this interview, I have to say I have heard from this young man who had the absolute highest regular glucose, and then the highest A1c I've ever heard in my life. Now, I've been doing the low-carb thing for a lot of years. We've done YouTube for several years. I've never heard anybody that had this high of numbers. His name is Dimitry Hare. Dmitry, welcome to Beat Diabetes.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and the question is, how are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. Yeah, thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's a great pleasure. You contacted me and you told me about some of the numbers you had. I said, Dmitry, we're going to need some documentation. People aren't going to believe it's possible to be this high and live with blood glucose. And you have provided that, so we'll flash that up on the screen as we go. And another thing is, Dmitry, you're one of my fellow YouTubers. You have your own YouTube channel, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And I watched it. You do something unusual that I've not noticed or seen before, and that is a treadmill kind of a dance. And
Yes.
You've got some pretty good moves.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, like it keeps me going, it keeps me in shape, and it keeps me motivated.
Well, and some of those videos are several years ago, back when you were just probably developing diabetes in the severe measure you ended up having it. And so when I first looked at them, I said, okay, this guy is young, he's not old, he does not appear to be overweight. And he's active. He goes to the gym. How in the world did a guy like that ever end up with diabetes? But somehow you did.
Yes. Somehow I did, and it's in the family history.
Okay, so who would be an example of someone that had diabetes in your family, or did you have several?
I had 2. My grandmother had type 2. And she reversed it. And actually about 4 months ago, I just lost my aunt from being a type 1. So she died before her 60th birthday.
Yeah, so thankfully you are not type 1, which helps, although type 1s can manage it as well. They just need to be careful with their insulin, be careful with their diet. But in your case, I don't think you even realized you had it until suddenly you found out you not only had diabetes, you had about as bad of diabetes as you can have and still be alive. Tell us how you found that out.
So I was having urination issues for around 3 weeks. So then I didn't think anything of it. But it's always important to look at your body and make sure that you are aware of different things, certain things that is happening to you. So on July 4th, I admitted myself into the hospital the evening time on July 4th, yes, on my day off and eating some good food. So when I admitted myself in there, I had to urinate as soon as I got there. So they gave me a cup and I did my business in there. And then they came back and was telling me that you are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So I got a little bit scared and a little bit paranoid. So I was kind of out of it. But when I was in there, I wasn't feeling bad. I wasn't feeling bad through the 3 weeks prior. I was just kind of using the restroom quite often, and like every 5-10 minutes. And on the 4th, when I went in there, they were telling me that my A1c was 17.07.
Wow. Well, Dmitry, I mean, I have to say, I've never heard of A1c that high. And we've got the document to show it, so clearly you had it that high. Was the frequent urination the only symptom you had at that time, or were there other symptoms as well? And how did you feel generally?
I was getting kind of annoyed because, no one really liked to use the restroom like that much. So when I was working at both of my jobs and going to the gym, I couldn't really focus on my task or do anything that I need to get done. Always have to run to the restroom, and it was just kind of annoying, really. But the only symptom I had was that. But then I realized that my vision was blurred, and I thought my eyes were dry. So I kept on putting eye drops in my eye, and nothing was happening. So then when I got diagnosed, then I was doing some reading on the vision loss. My vision dropped down so bad, it was kind of hard to read the street signs. So there were some times when I just took the bus home instead of drove from work, and I had to pick up my car the next day. So, but unfortunately, that I got my vision back from eating a good diet and maintaining my disease and lowering my A1c, because when your A1c is so high, it really reflects on your vision.
Well, that is for sure. Now, when you checked yourself into the hospital, did you think you might have diabetes, or you just knew this frequent urination is a problem, I've got to see what's going on? Or did you say, hey, I think I may be getting diabetes?
The urination was just getting like kind of annoying. I had no idea, because I'm always so active. So I didn't really know that a person that's so active can get diabetes, because I'm very much active. I go to the gym. I work 2 jobs. I'm always in and out. And about a year ago, I stopped my juicing and blending vegetables. But before that, for like 6-7 years straight, I'm like always pretty healthy. So just blending my vegetables, blending leafy greens. But then I stopped for a year, and then the diabetes came upon to me.
Yeah. Now, when the doctor told you you had diabetes, did he express any kind of shock that it was that high? Did he make you to know that, this is terrible diabetes? This is about as bad as it's possible to get, and you still be alive.
Yeah, he was saying, and they were saying, and the dietitian was telling me that I would need to be counting my carbs and watching my calories and make sure I'm eating like 3 meals a day, and just watch out what I'm eating and be careful. But there are some times when I thought I was needing to count my carbs and calories. I didn't really need to. I just switched my whole diet up from eating really healthy, and then things start to change. My A1c start to drop down, because on July 4th it was 17.07, and then on July 17th it dropped down to 13.04. And then let me see, on August 19th it dropped to 8.0. And then on 9/30th, it is at 5.6.
That is an amazing improvement over that period of time. Let's go back now to what the dietitian said. You need to count your carbs. Now, that could mean a lot of things. Was this dietitian saying you should have so many carbs per meal, you should limit carbs a lot? Exactly what was her attitude about the carbs, and what did she mean by counting your carbs?
Make sure I'm weighing out my stuff and getting the right amount of vegetables and the protein, and make sure I'm, have a certain amount of carbs a day.
What was that number?
I don't quite remember, honestly. I just knew like I had to switch my lifestyle up pretty quickly, like very quickly. And so, like for me, just like counting the carbs and calories, I decided to take it in my own hands and just starting eating real healthy. And, to be honest with you, Dennis, a lot of people that have diabetes don't follow the time regimen. The time regimen, you can't really eat too late. And that is one of the key, because you need the food to break down, and like it needs to be broken down so you can be all absorbed. And like my last meal, because I take insulin and I'm almost off the insulin, but my last meal for today is at 6:30. So if I do snack after 6:30, it's on peanuts or cashews or seeds. So that's how I drop my A1c down and continue managing my diabetes on the right path.
Yeah, so what time do you eat breakfast every day? Do you skip some breakfast? And if you do eat breakfast, what time would you have your breakfast?
I eat breakfast around 7:30. It's between 7:30 and 8.
And that's pretty much every day?
Yes. And the only time when I did not eat breakfast is when I had to go fast for my lab.
Right. Now, so generally from about 6:30 at night until 7:30 the next morning, you're not eating unless you may have a few nuts or seeds. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Now let's talk about your diet. You obviously what we need is a picture of how you were eating before, and then how you change. You said you went to healthier foods, but we need more specifics. So tell us, how were you eating before that you feel was pretty bad, and what exact changes did you make, and how do you eat now?
Well, like I'm a chef at a restaurant that is a Mongolian restaurant. So there were some times when I was eating noodles and teriyaki and chicken and some bread and rice. So those are the bad carbs that will just be sitting like in your system. So now, like I still work as a chef, but I bring my own food, or I just mainly eat the meat and vegetables. I just leave the bread alone and the like all the other carbs alone.
Okay, tell us how you figured that out. I mean, what you're saying is exactly what I think diabetics tend to need to do, certainly what I've done, which is to lay off the starches, lay off the noodles and so forth. But how did you figure that out? Was that just through testing yourself? Did you watch YouTube videos and figure it out, or did you just somehow instinctively know that's what you needed to do?
Watching YouTube videos and mainly watching your videos and watching Jason Fung and Sarah videos. But like a lot of times I just was testing myself and testing different times of the day, because with me, what I noticed when I have my last meal, if I do eat nuts or seeds after that, before bed, then my glucose number will be normal. You know, a lot of people don't understand and don't know and don't have the knowledge that if you splurge late at night, you have a high glucose reading the next morning.
And you figured that out simply by testing yourself, and one night you'd eat a snack fairly late, and then you'd have high glucose. The next night you'd skip, and it'd be lower. Is that how you figured that out?
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned Dr. Fung, you mentioned me, and then you mentioned somebody named Sarah. I expect you're talking about Sarah Hallberg. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Yeah, she gave a TED Talk that has become a classic in the world of low carb and keto, and she really makes a powerful case for low carb intervention. So, Dmitry, did you figure this out fairly quickly after your diagnosis, or did it take you a month or two, or how long did it take you before you really got serious about cutting out those starches and sugars?
About 2 weeks. Because about a year and a half ago, when I was already eating healthy, like I was juicing and whatnot, doing all the right things to like keep my body refreshed and good and have a good working body. So like it wasn't that hard for me to get back on a real health diet or a healthier diet. But before I was diagnosed, I had already tons of energy, like mounts of energy. I could work like 16 hours a day and not be tired. I could work 2 jobs in one day and not be tired at all. But now I can work 2 jobs and still have energy to go to the gym after working 2 jobs.
Well, I think when God created you, Dmitry, He wound you up with an extra tight spring because you're a hard worker and you're energetic. But even while you were diabetic, you were going to the gym regularly. Is that right?
Yes. And then I noticed that I was weaker at the gym, like during my last couple weeks before I got diagnosed. And I was wondering to myself, I'm like, okay, so how come I can't really push or lift the weights that I normally lift? And then I noticed that I was losing muscle mass. So then when the lady in the hospital was telling me, the dietitian, when you become a diabetic, you start losing a lot of muscle mass and you start getting too weak at the gym or whatever you do. But that was the only really time that I felt weak, is only when I was at the gym. And like I lift pretty heavy weights. So I was a little bit kind of disappointed that I lost all that muscle mass. But now I've gained a lot more muscle mass and I'm even stronger.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you were always active, always working out. Even, some people assume if you just exercise enough, you either won't get diabetes, or if you get it, you'll quickly dispatch it just through the exercise. But for you, that wasn't enough, was it?
No, no. And it's very strange on how I got it, but it is hereditary in my family. So, like a lot of people, when they are like prone to it or like hereditary to it, like some people like give up or don't really care about themselves anymore. But, I like to work. I like to dance, as you've seen in that video. So dancing is very important to me and it's my passion. So, if I can't dance, I'm going to be really kind of like upset. So I took it in my own hands to get my health better.
And now I take it you're dancing like never before.
Yeah, correct.
So give us an example of a typical breakfast you might have these days. What kind of breakfast do you eat?
Well, I work at a grocery store like as well. So when I went to the primary care about a week and a half ago, that's when I started to look for keto brands. I'm not keto, but I do look for the keto pancakes. It's Birch Benders, and they're pretty good product. So I have about 2 pancakes a day, sugar-free chocolate chip with sugar-free syrup and eggs, and probably a small apple and a sausage or a couple sausages. And then sometimes I have greens, mixed greens. So like it kind of varies. So it depends on my mood.
What about your evening meals? What kind of evening meals do you eat?
I like all kinds of meats. So recently I've been making some scallops and some shrimp and a lot of seafood, like salmon and chicken. So my portions are for my protein, it is chicken, fish, and all seafoods, and then mixed greens and a slice of apple. So I try not to eat a lot of fruit during the evening time because that fruit still sits in there with the natural sugar. So I just try to keep it simple.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you're still taking insulin, so you're a work in progress. I would imagine you're hoping to get off of it altogether.
Yes. And when I first started taking it, I was at 12 units. And then the next month after that, when I went to see my primary care, I went to 10 units. And then after that, I dropped down to 8 units on my own behalf, probably like 2 weeks after I started doing the 10.
Okay. So you're working your way down, which is a great thing. And I think you're wise to work with your doctor and do it gradually. The one danger, of course, when you really cut those carbs and you're taking insulin is that you can sometimes drive your blood sugar too low. Have you had any of what we would call hypoglycemic episodes where your blood sugar just dropped so low you felt like you might faint?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Like if so, then like I wouldn't be able to tell because I'm always so energetic.
I think that's cool. I admire people. I'm maybe not quite as much energy, have as much energy as you. Of course, I've got a few years on you, but you're a delightful person to talk to and to hear your story. You found out some things, you began to apply them, you saw some success. Looks to me like you've got a great future ahead of you, Dmitry.
Yes, but I do want to give some hope for type 2 diabetics that it is very possible to reverse the disease. It is very possible that you can maintain a good diet and just stay focused and just keep in touch with your doctor, because that's pretty important as well, so they know what you are doing, so they can keep you informed what is good for you and what medication is good for you. And there is hope, because if I can do it, there's a lot of people that can do it. And to be honest, I'm a very busy guy. Like I'm sure some people have 3 jobs, do more, but I have 2 full-time jobs and I go to school and the gym. So, it's very possible for type 2 diabetics can reverse it.
Well, Dmitry, when you were at 17, you were killing yourself. I mean, that blood glucose was damaging you day by day. Now you're at 5.5 at your last A1c, and you're not harming yourself. Your blood glucose is down. into a range where no damage is being done. And so you have made phenomenal progress. You are a great inspiration. Being a chef probably hurt you at the beginning because you were just sampling all your all your foods, but now you have a much better knowledge of food, and you've really helped yourself. Thank you, Dmitry, for being on our channel. Thank you for inspiring so many people, and may God bless you as you go forward in the future.
Yeah, you're welcome, Dennis. Thank you for having me on your show.
They say the definition of insanity is to keep doing what you've always done and expect different results. When Dmitry knew he was in trouble with raging diabetes, he made changes. He drastically reduced the carbohydrates in his diet, and his A1c started going down, down, down. And so it can be with you, my friend. You too can make some changes, significantly reduce your carbohydrates, and see a victory which even your doctor may not think is possible. You can beat diabetes. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. That way YouTube will promote it to more people and more diabetics will get to see it and find hope through Dmitry's powerful testimony. And if you've not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, consider doing that and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified every time we post a new video. God bless. See you again soon.